Welcome to my least favorite topic, the helminths. I hate helminths. These are worms and they freak me out. I just do not like them. So we're going to do our best to make it through this topic without getting too squirmy. So just like with the protozoa, why is this important? This introduces one of the three eukaryotic microbes we'll be discussing this term. Right. So what are helminths? And as I said before, there's a lot of text on the slide, so don't worry about reading it as we go. Just listen to what we're talking about and take a few notes. This is a little bit of an outline for you. So helminths are worms and flukes, and these little guys can can grow enough to be seen by the naked eye. But they can still exist in small enough sizes that they need a microscope, so that's why they are called microbes still. These worms are divided into two groups, flatworms and roundworms, and the key to identifying the differences between these groups is that flatworms have segmented bodies, while roundworms do not have segmented bodies. Flukes, which are little short guys, belong to the flatworm group. One more note on these squirmy guys is that while we automatically assume that helminths are parasites, that's not necessarily true, and that many exist in the environment without harm to humans. So what is the morphology of the helminths? Well, these are the only multicellular microbe we're going to talk about this semester. These organisms have very rudimentary versions of our organ systems, which include the digestive, excretory, nervous, and muscular systems. And you can see those laying out here. They even have very rudimentary brains. So let's talk about the complete life cycle of the helminths. So I have it all listed here just so that you can have it all on one slide, but it's important that we break them down into the different stages. The helminth's life cycle is similar to our own, where it starts out as an egg. It then moves to the larvae and then to the adult stages in life. These coincide directly with the host they live in. When we're talking larvae develop in a host known as the intermediate host, and then fully developed, the helminth infects the final host. And inside the final host, mating will occur, and fertilized eggs will be released from that host into the environment. Helminths have very delicate eggs that are vulnerable to conditions and other predators. So to combat this, the helminths will lay up to 25 million eggs a day to help ensure that their genetic information is passed on to the next generation. So let's look at a couple examples that we have here. Just like in the protozoa, I don't expect you to memorize specific species. Just look at the big classifications and get an idea for how they work. So now that we've talked about the life cycle of the helminths, let's not gross ourselves out too much, but talk about how this looks in humans. And we're going to use our example of the pinworm. As you can see here, this little girl, it has the final host. She's the final host right now for the pinworm. And what they're doing, as you can see in this picture, is that we have the male and the female pinworms, and they're going to mate and lay eggs. And those eggs are going to be excreted, usually through fecal matter of this child. And these eggs will then emerge, and either through not washing her hands or just other unhygienic activities, she will then release the fertile eggs, and she can either pass it on to other children through touching other toys or reinfect herself by eating those fertile eggs. We sometimes refer to this as the fecal oral route. It's a little gross, it's a lot gross, but it's important that we understand how this works. So here's our last slide, and it's important that we understand the distribution and importance of the parasitic worms since we're talking about them, right? Helminths cause billions of infections worldwide, and they're not limited to developing countries. We actually have 50 million infections in North America alone. This is why we tell people not to go out in the grass without their shoes on, because that's where they'll pick some of this up, as well as we talked about, through the fecal oral route. And so these guys are eukaryotes, which make them a lot harder for us to kill because their cells are so much similar or so much like ours. Whereas in bacteria, we can target things that are different about them, and with eukaryotes, we can't. And we're going to talk more about how we treat these infections when we get to Unit 3, but just be aware of them. You'll see some pictures where people will actually pull out worms through the body by wrapping the worm around a stick and things like that, and they get pretty gnarly pretty fast. So if you want to check that out, I have some extra resources for you on Blackboard. This is the end of this short topic. We survived it. Please let me know if you have any questions about the objectives. I will try not to freak out too much as we talk more about helminths.